Arabs are getting slaughtered in Gaza, over 65,000 dead at a bare minimum. The number of casualties is over 200,000 when you include the wounded, over 20,000 kids killed. And it appears that our politicians and our media goes, so what? So what? They're just Arabs. So isn't the racism against Arabs 10,000 times more than the so-called anti-Semitism against their beloved Israel?
You are now seeing, like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene meeting with Arab Christians, and for the first time understanding, like, wow, there are Christians in Gaza that are impacted from the genocide.
I'm trying to decide who's more racist: corporate media, mainstream media, cable news, New York Times, Washington Post, etc., or politicians.
Your eyes are not lying to you when you see, children that have been killed, that have been mutilated, have been, blown to pieces. That's not a fake image. Donald Trump is kind of right when he calls it like the failing New York Times, or when he calls it like when he goes after these establishment papers and these legacy outlets, about how they're failing and if they've lost, readership and viewership. He kind of has a point, and I think a lot of it has to do with their hypocrisy on this.
So there's no question, mainstream media is nearly 100% racist. Back on TYT, we got a fun interview, well, an interesting interview for you guys right now. Abed Ayoub is the National Executive Director of the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. And they're hosting ArabCon, by the way, in Dearborn, Michigan, starting tomorrow. I'll be there, arabcon.org, not a big deal. I don't know why I say not a big deal. It's going to be an interesting conversation. Actually, we got a panel with Ro Khanna about the reshaping of American politics. Anyways, I'll get back into that later. First, Abed, welcome. How you doing?
Good, thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and we can make it a little fun. It'll definitely be interesting. So
yeah, for sure. Okay. In a little bit, we're going to talk about how deeply racist corporate media, that's almost all mainstream media, and almost all of our politicians are against Arabs. We'll get to that in a second. But first, not a lot of people have heard of the ADC. I mean, everybody's heard of the ADL, right? But part of the reason you guys don't get a lot of press is because the press is racist against you. But anyway, so tell us what the ADC is.
ADC is the country's largest Arab American grassroots civil rights organization. We're 45 years old. We were founded by former US Senator James Abarizik. And if you've ever watched the film American Hustle, that's what led to the creation of ADC. When the FBI went in acting as Arab oil sheiks and trying to buy off politicians, and they approached Senator Abarizik, and he realized right away something was wrong, because these Sikhs said they were from, these Czechs said they were from Lebanon, and we don't have any oil in Lebanon. So something was wrong with their plans, and that led to the creation of ADC ultimately. And since then, we've been involved in a number of issues, policy on the state level, federal level, and on the local level, working with Hollywood, working against, pushing the media against the narratives against us. So we're there. We've been around, again, 45 years, members in every state, chapters across the country. You've definitely heard of the ADL, and we hope that you continue hearing about ADC in the years to come.
I actually think you should be the busiest man in America. So we're going to get to that. But part of you being busy is not just ArabCon, not just fighting yes all that racism, but you guys got a new idea. You're trying to kick Israel out of the European League and FIFA. You got a billboard. Let's show the billboard. This is what, in Times Square? Wow. Israel's committing genocide. Soccer federations boycott Israel. So Abed, tell us about that.
So this is a great campaign that we came up with a number of our partners in Europe. And the goal is to isolate Israel. I mean, the goal is to isolate the Zionist regime. And we saw, this is not an original playbook. We saw this in South Africa with the World Cup. We saw this happen numerous times prior. We have to isolate them on the world stage. They shouldn't be allowed to participate in UEFA, in the European League, and they shouldn't be allowed to participate in the World Cup. And we decided to launch that campaign. It's very timely after the official ruling from the UN about genocide. This is the first step that these nations can take. So we put up the billboard. There's a number of actions happening across Europe. People have been seeing the videos and the tweets and the reels. So it's gaining momentum. We're hoping that an official decision from UEFA is made sometime soon, and then that leads to others as well taking the same action against Israel.
Yeah, for those who don't know, banning South Africa from the rugby leagues internationally made a huge difference in getting rid of apartheid. People love sports, something that folks are obsessed by. The two things that make a difference usually in these kind of situations are business boycotts. That's why the pro-Israel forces get the most angry about business boycotts and say you're not allowed to, if you're an American, you're not allowed to have that opinion. You're not allowed to take that action. Don't you know you work for Israel? There's First Amendment has an asterisk, okay? And now on soccer, I'm sure they're going to be very upset about that. So Abed, since you're saying
they were very upset.
That's what I was going to ask you. Since you're doing something that is nonviolent and peaceful and logical, it's what was done to defeat apartheid. I'm sure that you've been a target of tremendous attacks. So tell us about that.
There has been. I mean, the Israeli government got involved directly with the owner of the building and the billboard, demanded it be taken down. Unfortunately, the guy that owns the building, complied and forced it down, but it was up there for a few days. People got the message, and we anticipate that there's going to be targeting. There's going to be folks looking, extra carefully at what we're doing and who we are. But again, that's happened, and it ties into the theme of ArabCon that we've been here before. This organization has been targeted. Our offices were bombed in 1985. Our staff members were killed by the Jewish Defense League. So we've gone through this, and we anticipate the targeting will continue.
Yeah. So, we just say it casually, like you had a perfectly normal, benign boycott of a soccer league because of the massive discrimination in the occupied territories and a genocide that's going on. And they're like, shut up. You're not allowed to say that in America. Don't you know First Amendment has an Israel asterisk? They're just unreal. So, all right, now let's talk about the racism. Now, Abed, when you have anything that is slightly critical of Israel, you know what the pro-Israel extremists in this country do: anti-Semite, 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 fire them, cancel them, arrest them, etc. Right? We have congressional hearings if their feelings have been hurt. Meanwhile, Arabs are getting slaughtered in Gaza, over 65,000 dead at a bare minimum. The number of casualties is over 200,000 when you include the wounded, over 20,000 kids killed. And it appears that our politicians and our media goes, so what? So what? They're just Arabs. So isn't the racism against Arabs 10,000 times more than the so-called anti-Semitism against their beloved Israel?
Absolutely. I mean, the racism, the discrimination that we've been facing for decades in this country, it's real, and it does start from the media, like you're saying. It starts from the narrative they want to push and the positions they want to push. But we're starting to see that break a little bit, and I think the one thing that you've done tremendously well is to show that there is a realignment. There are things changing, and many folks from the right and from the conservative side are starting to realize also, wait a minute, these attacks are not, they're not real. There's nothing there. We were made to hate these communities. We were forced to hate Arabs, forced to hate Muslims. We shouldn't have. I tell a funny story. After Mahmoud Khalil was arrested, I got a call from the office of from a guy in Texas named Skip, very older white guy, heavy, Texas accent. He goes, I hate you people and I don't like you people, but you have every right to say what you want. And he's like, son, you know why we have the Second Amendment? And I'm like, no, why? And he's like, well, to protect the First. And I'll be at your office tomorrow morning if you need me, right? So it's that type of mindset and mentality that we're starting to see from all Americans waking up and realizing, you know what, Arabs, Muslims, they want the same thing in this country. They're not as bad as the media is making them out to be. Now that in turn is opening their eyes to what's happening in Gaza, opening their eyes to what's happening in the genocide, and most importantly, opening their eyes to the role the U.S. government, their government, has played for the past decades in foreign policy in the Middle East. So it's a domino effect that's really accelerating the change we're seeing. And on domestic issues, foreign policy issues, we are seeing more and more people realize most of this country has been played in believing that we're the bad guy and believing that Muslims and Arabs need to be pointed, they need to be isolated, they need to be pointed at and feared, which that's falling. That narrative is falling quickly.
Yeah,
and the media can't keep up with it. They're trying their best to prop it up. They can't keep up with it.
So I was just at a CARE event, that's Council on American Islamic Relations. So that's a Muslim American civil rights group. I'm going to ArabCon on Friday and Saturday, this Friday and Saturday. And that's an Arab group. Now, a lot of Americans, partly because of propaganda by mainstream media, pro-Israel propaganda, don't even know that there are, why are there two separate groups? Because Arabs are not just Muslims. Arabs are, first of all, a wide variety of religions, but the two major religions these days are Muslims and Christians. So how do you deal with that? Do you get a sense that people know that well enough? Do you get a sense, because what's weird is if Christians are attacked anywhere else of any other race, that's a big deal in America. The press will go, oh my God, these people killed Christians and it's horrific, etc. But are Christians being killed, Arab Christians being killed by Israel in Gaza and other places? And to what degree are there Arab Christians?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Arab Christians are being killed. They are being persecuted, and they have been persecuted in Gaza and throughout Palestine since 1948. And it's horrible to see, and it's very unfortunate. The understanding, the level of understanding that the American public has in our community is minimal. Like they don't, a lot of them really don't understand the difference between Arab and Muslim, and that there are Arab Christians. But as I said, a few minutes ago, that's starting to change. They are starting to realize that, and you are now seeing, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene meeting with Arab Christians, and then for the first time understanding, wow, there are Christians in Gaza that are impacted from the genocide. So that narrative is shifting quickly. We have to do our part, and in this country, Arab Christians make up a majority of the Arab community. The Arab community here is not a majority Muslim; it is majority Christian, and people got to realize that and understand that. And at the same time, whether it's CARE or ADC or any of the others, we work closely together. The religion really doesn't matter. We have the same guiding sets of principles that push our work and push us to the same objective at the end. So our organization, at least, it's made up of Muslim, Christian, Jewish people. So it's really based on a single principle of humanity and justice.
Yeah, and if you don't know, Jews had way more problems in Europe than they ever had in the Middle East. It's not to say that anything was perfect, but before 1948, there were tons of Arab Jews along with Arab Christians and Arab Muslims, and they coexisted in relative peace, certainly compared to Europe. As I was talking to at CARE, I think that I'm seeing the same thing with Arab Americans here. I think that Arab Americans are probably, along with Muslim Americans, the most in favor of American sovereignty. That you don't want a foreign government influencing our government. And no one is more incentivized to make sure that a foreign government does not mess with the American government than Arab Americans. Is it fair to say that Arab Americans are at the very top of the list of people who care about American sovereignty?
I mean, absolutely. In a way, it's a very true statement. We want American sovereignty. We don't want any foreign government meddling in our affairs, and we believe that America shouldn't be meddling in anybody else's affairs overseas. And that kind of sounds like America First, platform. It's there, and that's the way the community thinks. That's the way our community thinks. That's the way a number of voters think. Now, when it comes to what the parties are putting out there or how they're going in elections and the platforms, that's a different story. But we can sit down and say with a straight face that, yeah, we don't want the US involved in any foreign wars or any foreign meddling. And at the same time, we don't want any foreign country meddling in our affairs here in this country. Because a lot of that has happened to our home countries, to our countries, where my father came from, Syria, or my mom came from, Lebanon. That's been happening for generations. We don't want to see that here. That doesn't belong in the US, and there's no room for it. And we would, again, rather see this country focus on investing here at home, doing what we can for our communities here, and not, propping up a genocidal regime or propping up these wars overseas.
Yeah, so I'm trying to decide who's more racist: corporate media, mainstream media, cable news, New York Times, Washington Post, etc., or politicians. So let's start with the media, and then we'll have this fun contest to see which one is more racist, okay? So the media says 36 Jewish kids killed in Israel on October 7th is the worst thing you could imagine. I agree. There's nothing wrong with that statement. Those poor kids, right? But 20,000 dead Palestinian Arab kids, who cares? I mean, we just gave another $6 billion gift for more genocide in Israel. Didn't make cable news at all, at all. There's 20,000 dead kids, 65,000 dead people, and it seems like cable news is saying to America, yeah, but they're Arab lives, so they're totally irrelevant. Whereas if you affected the feelings, forget the lives, the feelings of people who support Israel, there'll be congressional hearings, and we'll cover it 24/7 because those are people whose lives matter and feelings matter. But you, Abed, and all you Arab Americans, it appears that all of cable news and all of mainstream media is telling you, yeah, we're racist. We don't think that your kids matter at all.
Absolutely, that's exactly how it is. They're racist. They're pushing their own agenda, their own narrative. They're pushing these talking points that are, again, I think there's a lot of pushback against them. I don't think they're going to be able to do this and be taken seriously much longer. A lot of independent media sources, a lot of folks now on social media, a lot of people from Gaza telling their own story, their own narrative. That's changed the ballgame a little bit, and people now are seeing through their hypocrisy. Your eyes are not lying to you when you see children that have been killed, that have been mutilated, have been blown to pieces. That's not a fake image. They can push the narrative that it's fake. They can try to do what they want, but so many people are seeing it in real time that they just look racist. Like you're saying, they look racist. They look like they don't value Arab lives, and they're pushing for a genocide. And they're rewarding writers that push for genocide, right? Like Barry Weiss and others. They're in this little world of theirs, and what they're not realizing, at least I think that not many people take them seriously anymore. Donald Trump is kind of right when he calls it like the failing New York Times, or when he calls it like when he goes after these establishment papers and these legacy outlets, about how they're failing and if they've lost readership and viewership. He kind of has a point, and I think a lot of it has to do with their hypocrisy on this.
Yeah. So let's take one more example, then we'll turn to the politicians. So they say there's a charter somewhere that hypothetically says that Israel should not exist. And now Israel does exist. It's a nuclear armed country. It has Iron Dome, the only country in the world that has a system that protects it from other missiles. We don't have it, but we gave it to them. So they have the defense, they have the nukes, they have a military that is bigger and better than the rest of the Middle East combined, right? In a sense, they're almost the safest country in the world. You almost have to do a stand down order in order to get attacked. I wonder what happened there. Anyways, okay, so they're super safe. They already exist. There's no threat to their existence at all. But the media is obsessed with Israel has a right to exist. Like it'd be like if they came on air, they're like, Norway has a right to exist. Of course, yeah, Norway has a right to exist, and it exists. Why are we even talking about this? There's two people over there who think that Norway shouldn't exist. This is the biggest issue. But let me ask you something, Abed. Does Palestine exist? And do you see the same kind of emotion and anger and coverage about the fact that Palestine actually doesn't exist? Or is all of corporate media, all of mainstream media so racist that they think a 1% of a 1% chance that Israel might not exist a couple hundred years from now is so much more important because they're Israelis, they matter. Whereas you guys don't actually exist, and Israel's crushing you, occupying the Palestinians for 58 years, and now committing a genocide and starving them to death. But who cares? We're never going to talk about the fact that Palestine doesn't exist.
Exactly. I mean, they look first. Don't say that Israel has nukes. That's anti-Semitic, right? You can't say that's something that you can't say on air. You might get fined for it. But this hypocritical view. You're absolutely right, and it's not only Palestine. It's at one point, I think a month or two ago, Israel bombed 3 capital Arab cities. They bombed Damascus, they bombed Sana'a, Yemen, they bombed Beirut, all within the same day. How is that allowed to happen? How are we just turning a blind eye to this country who committed a genocide. I mean, step back and look. They committed a genocide, hundreds of thousands of people killed, displaced, and they made it complete ruins. Israel expands its territory. They take over parts of Syria. They take over parts of Lebanon. They're causing chaos everywhere. It's as if they were rewarded. And it's not just that the mainstream media and these outlets are turning a blind eye to genocide. They're allowing it to continue and grow and rewarding this country by not even looking at these issues. And the fact that they're bombing these cities, bombing all these countries, it's as if nothing normal. The way they bombed Doha the other a couple of weeks ago, perfect example as well.
Yeah. So look, we've now established that every reporter at the New York Times and every so-called reporter, do they have any reporters? Anchors at CNN, pundits, etc. They're all 100% and indisputably racist because they make it appear that Israel's right to exist is a bigger issue than Palestine's right to exist when Palestine doesn't actually exist. And Israel is one of the safest countries in the world. So the fact that they are perverting reality, they're the exact opposite of objective. And why do they do it? Because they hate Arabs. And they think, who cares if Arabs don't exist? They're not real people. Who cares if their children are murdered? They're not that important. They're not Israeli children. So there's no question mainstream media is nearly 100% racist. So now we turn to the politicians because this is a tough contest. I don't know if they're both going to wind up at 100%. So they had congressional hearings about anti-Semitism. Okay, that's great news for you guys because Arabs are Semites. And correct. My God, is there racism against Arabs? First of all, they should have brought in the publisher at the New York Times and the head of CNN and MSNBC, et cetera, to those congressional hearings. But okay, let's put that aside. I mean, people are yelling at Arabs all the time, calling them terrorists, this, that, and the other thing. College campus, oh my God, I bet an Arab's never had any problems on a college campus. So did Stefanik and the Republicans, but all of Congress, did they invite you guys as part of their anti-Semitism hearings?
Absolutely not. Huh. Absolutely not. And right, it makes you wonder. I mean, it's mind-boggling. And look, by the way, we're the organization that filed complaints on behalf of Jewish students at a University of New York who were facing real anti-Semitism. Right, ADC has defended Jewish students facing anti-Semitism, so we don't shy away from it. When we see it, we're going to call it out. We're going to work with the students, and we're going to work those that are impacted by it. And by real anti-Semitism, you have these students that were standing up for Palestine and targeted by the ADL and others because they're not Jewish enough or they're not Zionist enough. That's what we're starting to see that backfire. But no way these lawmakers are reaching out to us. They won't reach out to us, and they don't want to know the truth. They're buying the ADL talking points. They're buying the ADL language. Look at the bills coming out of California, SB 715 and SB 771 that fines social media companies if their algorithm pushes out hate. It's a workaround to Section 230, and all of this is based on silencing criticism, silencing any talk about Israel and the genocide, and labeling it anti-Semitism. I mean, this is the route they're going, and it's infringing on our rights as Americans. It's taken away your First Amendment right to say, to critique a country, to critique a foreign government, all because they want to prop up Netanyahu in Israel and this Zionist regime.
Yeah, so Jewish students and Arab students who are fighting for peace, who are viciously slandered, attacked, etc., by pro-Israel zealots, not invited to hearings about anti-Semitism, even though they're all Semites, the Jews and the Arabs are. Yeah. The only people invited are the pro-Israel guys. And they also smear the other Jewish students for peace, right?
Yeah, right. But I mean, their feelings are the only ones that matter, right? We got to make sure that these pro-Israel zealots are safe on campus and their feelings aren't hurt. God forbid if their feelings are hurt, we got to dismantle student groups. We got to dismantle activism. We got to silence everybody and send in the National Guard because a little kid at Columbia's feelings got hurt. I mean, that's just the way it's playing out.
So far in the middle of this genocide, we've sent Israel at a minimum of $24 billion as a thank you note. Hey, way to kill all those Arab kids. Attaboy, murder more Arabs, says our Congress. And they just did it again. Trump just said, all of our politicians, Trump just sent them $6 billion more. Like, keep slaughtering, keep slaughtering. They're Arabs, their lives don't matter at all, right? Now, do you think that it's because Trump, Biden, and 90% of Congress take money from the Israeli lobby? So they're not actually racist, they're just deeply corrupt, and they'll work for anyone, including a foreign government, if they're paid, and they're basically prostitutes. Or they hate Arabs so much because they're so naturally deeply racist against Arabs that they think, yeah, let's pay Israel to slaughter more Arabs. Which one do you think it is?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, to be real, that's a good question. Now, I've had the opportunity to sit with some of the Republican lawmakers, right, like Congressman Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and even Matt Gaetz, who's out of Congress now. But genuinely, when they start learning about the issue, when they start understanding, you could see their positions change. You could see their eyes open up. But then I asked myself, I mean, you were elected to Congress. There's no way you didn't know this information. There's no way this wasn't available. Like, everything is out there now. It's easy to learn. It's easy to catch up on it. I do believe a good sizable percentage of Congress do hate us. They do hate Arabs. They do hate Muslims on both the left and right. I don't think it's a Republican or a Democrat thing. I think you're going to find a lot of bipartisanship on this one issue of hating us. And those folks, I mean, it needs a miracle. They need to be voted out. But I do think you have a good amount of individuals that can be swayed and that can be shown who we are and can start taking positions against genocide. And we're reaching that point where whether they're doing it because it's an America First agenda or because they, for whatever reason, as long as we're getting to the same ends, I think there is that opportunity there to change that narrative. And if you look at how close Congress is in the House and the votes, if we can get 10 to 15 Republicans to change their mind, and if we can get a complete overhaul of the Democratic Party, top to bottom, we should be in good shape.
That's a lot of ifs, brother. Okay, I mean, I wish you luck.
I know, exactly. It's a lot, and it's a lot, but that's why we have to focus on, again, state level, local level activism in this way.
And you're right, Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene have been great on this issue, so it's not a Republican or Democrat thing. Joe Biden was a disaster. He gave 3 times as much as Trump has. Trump is giving a bigger green light to massacres, but Biden gave more money to massacres and genocide. So both parties are atrocious on this. And I can go on and on about how Congress is deeply racist against Arabs and bigoted against Muslims. That's obviously, but by the way, there's also good Democrats on this, Bernie Sanders and Jay Raskin and others who are, Ro Khanna has been great on it, now pushing back against funding Israel. All right, but one last thing here. So ArabCon is happening over the next couple of days. So ArabCon.org is the website. What is ArabCon?
It's an opportunity for our community to come together to, talk about our issues, to celebrate the culture, the heritage at the same time, and to organize and mobilize. We haven't had a space where we meet outside of Washington, D.C., where collectively as a community where we can hear from folks like yourself and others. It's open to everybody, not just Arabs, and an opportunity to build on our commonalities, to build on our strategy, and for us to prepare for the midterms coming up in 2026. So we are trying to get ahead of that. And again, if folks are in Michigan, if folks are coming out here, we'd love to see you out here and register for the for the weekend.
So we're not, there's no, TYT is not getting paid at all or anything like that, but I'm gonna give a promo code of TYT for anybody watching this. Like, thank you for watching the interview and caring about these things. You'll get 20% off if you use the code TYT to go to, when TYT 20. What's that?
TYT 20.
Oh, sorry, TYT 20. See, I gotta get that right. Yeah. Anyways, at ArabCon.org. But again, we're not getting paid for it. It's just to get the other point of view out there. Last thing is, who else is going?
Oh my God, we got Mahmoud Khalil, Mustafa Bataha, Ro Khanna. We got a lot of Professor Khalid Beydoun. We got Amy Greer. The list.
Mehdi coming or no?
Mehdi Hassan is coming. Sorry, yeah, I blanked out. Mehdi Hassan's coming. Bassem Youssef's coming. Thank you for that. It's been a long week. Yes, Mehdi's coming. Bassem's coming. We're doing a good showing of watermelon pictures. We have a representative from the Kingdom of Spain coming. We're recognizing Spain tomorrow evening for their efforts, what they've been doing. So it's going to be a great program, all around from Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, and look, like I said, I was just at the caravan, and Mahmoud Halil got an award there, spoke there, but he's not the only one who was taken as a political prisoner. Other political prisoners also spoke out at that event, and it was really powerful. Stories you have not heard. It's so frightening that there are political prisoners inside America now. And of course, they're not even taken on our behalf. They're taken on behalf of another country. It's insanity, total insanity. All right, Abida Ayub, head of the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. Thank you for joining us, brother. We appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.